was 2 years old, I almost died. I was really ill, and my mom remembers crying at the hospital and crying and praying that I just want my daughter back. I don't need anything of her. She doesn't have to do anything in life. I just want her alive. So she comes back to me and she tells me this every time that, for the same daughter that I wanted just alive, how can I expect anything more? I grew up with, let's say, zero expectations from my parents. They weren't too forceful of anything that they wanted me to do. They just wanted me to be happy and just live a good life. I think, as you know, as in a brown household, you go to university. It's not a question. Then you go get a job afterwards. It's just expected. And I was just kind of going through the motions of, okay, A levels done, undergrad done, master's done, time for a job. And yeah, I mean, I saw my friends going into banks and other consulting jobs, and I felt, yeah, I'll go in too. And honestly, I thought that's what I wanted to do. And I would say just within a few months of starting my grad scheme, I kind of started seeing the difference between me and my peers. They were focused on, okay, climbing this corporate ladder, really passionate about financial services, and here's me.
So for someone who is deciding to maybe go on a similar journey, go along the same route, what's the capacity for zero?
Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of Figuring Out. I'm your host, Gemma Permalu. Before we get started, it'd be great if you could please take the time to subscribe to the podcast, whether that's on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, and if you could leave a review. Today is actually the first time that I realized that I now have an average rating on Spotify. I'm not too sure, but it looks like it took a minimum of 10 reviews to get here. And this is truly helpful in me reaching out to new guests and keep building the podcast. In today's episode, I'm sitting down with Bushra, a former JP Morgan banker with incredible academic credentials who decided to take a leap of faith and get into content creation at a time when this field was not too known. She's not just a full-time influencer, but she's also a full-time mom, and she also got married at 25. So she had a lot to share on how to strike a balance in a couple and how to strike a balance as a new mom. So let's get into today's episode.
Hi Bushra.
Hi Gemma.
Hey, welcome to Figuring Out. Love that you came down today, and love that we're sort of matching
I
with
know,
the
such a
shades of
coincidence.
pink. I'm really excited to speak to you. For people who don't know, we sort of met at UCL, and we've been following each other, but we haven't met since.
I know.
It's been quite a few years. Easily 10 years
or so. Yeah.
So for your non-68,000 followers, because I'm sure they know a lot about you, why don't we start by hearing a bit about yourself, who you are. Let's get into your journey, and then we'll deep dive into the chat.
Amazing. So, hi everyone. I'm Bushra. I am originally from Bangladesh, born and raised. I moved to the UK in 2012, and that was for university. And there's been a couple of journey I've been on since then that we can get into later, but currently I am a full-time social media influencer and also a full-time mom and a dog mom and a cat mom, which is like four full-time jobs.
I can imagine. And I know you from overseas UCL. I think we overlap on one of the courses.
Yeah.
And since I think I've only seen your journey through Instagram. I think when you started at JP Morgan, that's probably when we overlap a bit. And then you decided to leave the world of banking and then went straight into content creation.
Yeah.
I think at that time when I was following you, you didn't even have 10,000 followers.
Yeah.
And then I saw that journey, and now you have nearly 70,000 followers.
Yeah.
So maybe let's take a step back. Let's go back to when it all started.
Okay.
What was it like when you decided to leave banking? Because I think we both come from brown households, mainstream education, go get a job. You come from what we know, financially comfortable family, and then you decide to leave banking, go into content creation when probably at that time no one, or maybe not many people, had a clue what that was
it's
about.
quite new back then. Yeah.
Exactly. So what was the reaction then?
Honestly, I think as you know, as in a brown household, you go to university. It's not a question. Then you go get a job afterwards. It's just expected. And I was just kind of going through the motions of, okay, A-levels done, undergrad done, master's done, time for a job. And yeah, I mean, I saw my friends going into banks and other consulting jobs, and I felt, yeah, I'll go in too. And honestly, I thought that's what I wanted to do. And I would say just within a few months of starting my grad scheme, I kind of started seeing the difference between me and my peers. They were focused on, okay, climbing this corporate ladder, really passionate about financial services. And here's me thinking, ugh, when's lunch? Like, when do I get home? And I think back then I was with Ashik, my husband, and he saw how much like months and months of the corporate life was kind of killing my creative side. It was killing this really like bubbly, fun person that I was. It was turning me into somebody that I wasn't. Right. And so I felt like it was, yeah, it just wasn't my calling, and I wanted to try something else. So I'm really lucky that even though, you know, I'm from a brown household, my family has always been really supportive of whatever I decide. There's actually a really sad-ish background story as to why. Like, my mom loves talking about it. Long story short, when I was really young, when I was 2 years old, I almost died. I was really ill, and my mom remembers crying at the hospital and crying and praying to Allah that I just want my daughter back. I don't need anything of her. She doesn't have to do anything in life. I just want her alive. So she comes back to me and she tells me this every time, that, you know, for the same daughter that I wanted just alive, how can I expect anything more? Like,
that's so beautiful.
Allah will be mad at me because I just wanted you here and you're here, and that's all I care about. So I think it all comes back to that, where I grew up with, let's say, zero expectations from my parents. Yeah. They weren't too forceful of anything that they wanted me to do. They just wanted me to be happy and just live a good life. So but still, this was something that they were proud about. They loved telling people, oh, my daughter is in JP Morgan.
How many times you've heard it, maybe?
Right? I know, like, every time we went back to Bangladesh, it was just a topic, like, you know, she's at JP Morgan. And I love talking about it too, you know, it was great. But I would say, like, Ashik really helped break that ice. He was kind of there to talk about, you know what, she gave it a shot. She was there for 2 years. And they knew that I was struggling. They saw me trying. And so when I finally decided to, okay, step back and try to figure out what I want to do in life, they were like, okay, we'll have that opportunity. They never knew I'd go into the line I am right now. They thought it'd be something similar at least. But yeah, so I think also that was the time when I had just gotten married. And in my head, my logic was, look, I got married over annual leave. And as you know, Asian weddings are long.
Yeah.
And I literally went back straight to the office. I never got a chance to be a wife. I never got a chance to, like, you know, learn how to cook or learn how to do like home stuff and things like that. And my logic was, do you know what, I'm going to take a few months out, be a wife, learn how to do all the other things, learn how to drive, learn how to cook, and then when I finally know what I want to do, I'll go back to it. That was
Except that you didn't realize that was going to be a forever break.
No,
at least for now.
No, I mean, yeah. So when I left JP Morgan, that was on my 25th birthday. It was a present. Like, on my birthday, I told my manager I'm leaving, and yeah, it was great. I was really happy. And yeah, I've not had any regrets. And I mean, yeah, my whole family has been super supportive through it.
That's very refreshing. I think there are a couple of things that you said in there, so let me unpack that. So we'll get to Ashik, your husband, in a bit, but maybe moving back to the decision when you decided to leave banking and go into content creation. I think one of the counter arguments to that sort of change in lifestyle or even choice would be money, right?
Yeah.
And I think with such a jobs, I mean, I do it as a hobby, as a side hustle, but I can see the lack of consistency in terms of revenue stream coming through. And I guess to some extent we can say you come from a financially comfortable family, and you have your husband there, so probably at that time you were not married though, so maybe we can exclude that for a moment. So for someone who's deciding to maybe go on a similar journey, go along the same route, what's the capacity for zero, right? Because it's like starting from scratch, and actually, if anything, you could probably be incurring your own costs, because that would be, you know, trying to get hold of a camera or starting a project, so it's more cost intensive at that stage. So did you have any of such concern at the very beginning?
Yeah, so I'll start this by saying that, I see a lot of people going about telling people to go pursue their dreams, like make their side hustle their main thing, live their life, quit their job, no regrets. But
Right.
it's like, how feasible is that for everyone?
Exactly.
It's not a equal footing we all start on. I always recognize this, when I talk to my followers about it, that, I come from a privileged position where I was actually married back then. So,
Oh, wait, okay.
so I did have a husband. I didn't have to worry about a roof over my head. I had somebody who was there to cover the rent. I had savings. And if my savings ran out, I knew my parents were there. So there was always that like safety net I had for me to take a decision and not just solely based on, what I wanted and not think about the other important factors,
Right.
which is just survivability. And not everybody has that. And so obviously if you're looking to make this like your main thing, you have to have those things sorted, because as you've said, it's not a kind of like a stable 9-to-5 job where the paycheck will come every month. It's not like that. But
Maybe
I
at
think-
the cost of the hours, giving you flexibility, but at least the stable income stream, you can
yeah.
count on that at the end of the month.
Exactly. So I would say, I think one of the biggest things was when I firstly started, I actually didn't even know this industry existed, by the way. That's a funny story because I kind of fell into it. I was looking at going into fully tech because I had a very IT degree. So I was looking at, programming courses. I wanted to go into a tech company. And then because I generally loved dressing up, taking pictures,
Yeah.
and that was just a hobby. While I was doing that, I got invited to this random, I don't remember the product. I think it was just this perfume, like this event for like a PR event,
Right.
where I met these other girls and they said, oh yeah, I make this much. And they were very candid about it. They said, oh, I charge £200 for this post. And I was like, wait, what? Like, you have the same followers as me. Like, I don't charge.
I can't believe they were that transparent already.
Yeah,
'Cause
they
I think
were
that's
so-
something like
like
it's
that-
a bit of a myth about the industry. No one talks about how much they get paid.
That group of girls, like, I still follow them because they just opened my eyes to this whole industry. I came back home, did my research, got on all the platforms, and it was easier back then than it is now. It was easier because we had like apps and stuff, which was so much more easier. You didn't have to physically know like PR contacts or be on lists. You could just apply directly and get accepted and get paid for it. And I think my parents took me seriously when I would say 3 or 4 months into it, I was earning the same amount as I did back in JP. When I told that to my dad, he was like, okay, like that's serious.
Now we
then.
can talk.
Yeah, it's like, okay, well, they thought it was a small little hobby, but
Right.
okay, so you're earning the same amount as JP, that's great. Every month is not the same,
Agreed.
but like some months, yes. And that, I think that's when they realized, okay, so this could actually be a thing. And I started realizing, okay, this could actually be a thing. But yeah, going back to your question, capacity for zero. Like I wouldn't tell anybody to just like jump straight ahead, not thinking about, okay, the safety net, the plans and everything, because it's one of those risky areas where you can't like, I don't know what's the word, like you can't.
I think it's like throwing yourself out there. I think we all hear about, the positives and how great it is to have the flexibility.
But nobody talks about
Nobody talks about
the crying,
the truth, exactly.
and the meltdowns, and the going crazy,
Having to
questioning
pay the
life.
Because
Yeah.
I think it's nice to build on something on the side. Like you can start building multiple revenue streams, or at least that's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I don't know how open I've been about this, but I try to build like multiple revenue streams.
Yeah.
If that's like investing your money, or if that's building something on the side, or like content creation. At least for now, I'm not at the stage where I'm making that much money from these different multiple streams versus the corporate job. But it is important sometimes to take a step back. Like, hang on, try to figure out like just throwing versus like throwing yourself out there.
Yeah.
And then moving to your marriage, your relationship with Ashik. He seems to be a very supportive dad.
He
I don't
is.
know him personally,
He's
but
amazing.
I mean, I can
I'm very
see in your
lucky.
story. So you're probably the first guest that I'm interviewing who's married. And you got married, you said, at 25?
Yeah.
Tell us the secret. What's the secret for happy marriage?
Well, I mean, it took him a while to convince me. It took him a year.
Really?
A year of chasing me and me saying, I don't see you as like a marriage-worthy guy. Like, honestly, I told that to him. I was so wrong. Like, he's the most marriage-worthy guy. Like, he's best friends with my mom and dad. Like, they talk more than I do.
Okay.
Like, yeah, he's amazing. But I would say like the key ingredient that I've learned over 6 years of marriage now is that to always play for the same team. And remember that you play for the same team, because we forget that in our own like egos and being right, and we forget that ultimately we're a same team. If something bad happens, it affects the both of us. If I win this argument and he goes to bed sad, I'm sad. Like, it's ultimately you have to look at that. Okay, how can we solve this problem in front of us together? And that's the problem. You just need to find someone that you always want to be in the same team with, and who adds to that. So if you're good at something, he's good at something else, and you guys complement each other and you guys handle things together. And I would say that's like the main thing people don't realize, especially I would say my friends who are in their 30s now still looking for a man. You know, you're older, you're independent, you do everything yourself. But you don't have to. Like, you can rely on someone else. You can find someone else who can meet you halfway, who can take care of you,
Right.
and just letting them be there for you, and being them for them in return.
I love your take on this, because I think from like in my group of friends, and maybe that's the case for you, we were just chatting before we started the podcast, and you said some of your friends' moms basically say to the girls, like, look at Bushra, she's had it figured out, she's had a baby,
Yeah.
she's married, had a baby. And I agree. I think dating now, that's something I discussed with one of my previous guests. It is harder when you
So
get
much
to that
harder.
age, because I'm okay with the term picky. I am picky. I've got standards. I think we all have
Yeah,
some
yeah.
certain standards. Like,
If
something.
you waited this long, why will you settle for anything but perfect?
Exactly. So,
Yeah.
but it gets harder when it's not just an age thing, but I think maybe our generation, I think there's so much choice, even when it comes to dating apps. Like, if you want, I mean, that's not for me, but if you just want to hook up, like, you can hook up
Yeah.
easily, so
Yeah.
it makes it a bit trickier.
Yeah.
Um,
I completely surpassed the dating apps. I was never on them.
you didn't have to.
I didn't see them. Like, I'm like, this looks fun. This looks like a game. And my
me
friends are
just
like, no,
swim.
no, it's not fun.
Maybe one thing you mentioned, playing for the same team. What's playing for the same team today for you? Is that baby Zoya?
Yes, 100%. So when she's on the floor having her toddler tantrums, we're talking to our eyes, like, do we go? No, let's wait it out. Let's go through it. And I would, not just that, like everything, I would say, just dealing with our parents, dealing with outside people. It's just more and more, he seems less of a husband and more as my team player, like every day, because marriage is like that. And I think if you're not that with your significant other, you won't be able to go through marriage, because it's just so many things that's thrown at you, and you need somebody at your corner to fight them with you.
My sister's boyfriend gave me this book, which is the rule about, it was like something to do everything, like 30 rules or something, but it had like different section, like professional, married life, and I think I went straight to the relationship one, obviously. Where is it? And one of them, I think the key message there, at least for me, was find someone with whom you can laugh with, because
Yeah.
eventually the good looks will fade away,
The sexual tension fades,
that will
all
go
of that
away.
fade. You need to have a best friend that you can just laugh with and enjoy life with.
Yeah, and I thought
Yeah.
that was quite key, because my parents have been, touch with my parents have been married for years and years, and I think even, my uncle and aunties, my
Yeah.
cousins' parents, they've all been like in really long relationships, and sometimes I'm like, what's the secret sauce for long marriage, happy marriage, when I look at our generation? But yeah, I think having someone to laugh with is kind of key eventually.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
everything else will probably fade away. On a lighter note, you were invited to take part in Indian matchmaking.
Oh my God,
Without
yes.
them knowing that you were married.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
yeah.
How was
Twice.
that? Yeah, you said, because I remember you were actually suggesting that to your audience, like, if anyone's out there single,
I
one of
went to
your
send my
partners
best
should-
friend. Like,
Oh,
please
did
go.
you? What's your take on Indian matchmaking, or what's your take on, the whole matchmaking process?
Like the actual show, or just
In general?
In general. Well, I love the actual show. I love trash TV. But yeah, in general, I think it's great. I see more and more women and my friends are open to it, and I see more and more of my friends find their love through that way. It's different now, not the same as it was with my parents. My parents did not even see each other. My dad says that he saw my mom had long hair and was fair, and he said and they got married, and then they spoke.
Well, they saw they saw each other briefly, and
just my mom said she didn't even properly see him because she had her head down because she was feeling shy. She peeked, and that was it.
Oh, wow.
And then they spoke after they got married. Obviously it's not like that. Matchmaking is not like that, and it shouldn't be.
But that was a different generation.
It was a different time. And I think it's great now that your friends and family know you the best. And if they can set you up with someone they think is good for you, then go for it. I mean, there's so many, like I said, when you're an adult, you have so many other things that you're worrying about: houses, savings and investing and work and social life and self-care. Do you have time to actually find people to meet? No.
Or even if you do, and if you've had a series of bad dates, you're like, I don't want to do it anymore.
Yeah, so you need somebody who's going to do that work for you. So I think matchmaking is a great way to meet people, and somebody who seems really wrong for you might actually be perfect guy for someone else. And I see that with Seema Auntie's matches as well. She brings really good matches, but maybe they're wrong for that person. But in general,
I mean, her mindset on life generally, or our generation, may be slightly different.
Compromise. 60 to 70%.
That's the key thing.
I'll be honest, she's not wrong. You have to compromise, but you have to compromise for the right person.
Right.
You can't just randomly go around compromising your values and everything. But it's for example, with Ashik now, yes, do we come across things where I have to compromise? Yes. Does he have to compromise? Yes. But we do that because we love each other and we want to make it work. But I wouldn't do that just for some random guy I met, right?
Obviously.
Yeah.
When you speak to your girlfriends, right? And you're that one girl who had a great education, started her hobby, and then became a profession, had the luxury of falling into, this guy falling into your lap and everything, have a great marriage. You have baby Zoya. So, and
can I
just
touch wood somewhere?
Yeah, please do.
You have no wood.
And you recently turned 13. And I guess growing up, it's go get a good education, especially for girls. Go get a good education. You graduate, you start working, start earning money, get to your mid-20s maybe. If you're single, why you're not dating? If you're dating, why is it not official? If it's official, why don't you get married? If you're married, when are you going to have a baby?
When's the next baby coming?
I was going to ask, what is that for you? What's the next question that you keep getting? Or is that it?
I mean, I'm slowly starting to get, just, take another child. And but that's the thing though. Luckily, my plans in life kind of matches the narrative, right? I always wanted to get married. I always wanted to be a mom. I always wanted this life. So it naturally matches with the narrative pushed down on us. But I know a lot of people, that's not their path. And I think people need to understand that not everybody has the same path, and not everybody has the same timings of things that happen. And I tell that to my friends all the time, don't stress. I know a lot of them want to have a kid before they're 30, right? It's a thing. Our biological clocks are ticking, etc., etc. And I'm look, it doesn't have to be like that. It doesn't, things have progressed now, but even if it hasn't, things move really fast. And if you meet a guy tomorrow, you could literally be married to him by the end of the week. It could happen. It could happen. You shouldn't worry about these things.
You're giving hope to all our single girls and boys listening to us.
It totally happen, and I've seen it happen for so many people as well. So it's not like a timing thing. Oh, dating for 3 years, marriage, and then baby, and it doesn't have to happen like that. Just follow your path, go down it, and yes, it's worked out to me as I've planned it, but it couldn't have. It was just a lot of nice chances and fates lined up,
it's
and
all
it
lined
worked.
up for you.
Yeah, it happened, but even if it didn't, something else would have happened. And that's one of the key things I think you need to remember. You just have to like just embrace the road you're like journeying on and just follow that path.
I think eventually when it happens, you'll look back and you'll say, hopefully it was worth waiting, or it just
and it
all
made
happened.
you who you are. And
Because I think so many women and girls do want it to happen. It's not like they don't want it to happen, but like you say, it all needs to line up. And I think going back to the dating world, your professional life, I think the ladder between like the professional, climbing up the ladder professionally and climbing up the ladder personally, I think for women to some extent it's not properly aligned timing wise. So that makes it harder.
It's a bit of a conflict, isn't it? Because like ultimately, no matter what we say, like our bodies and our biological clocks like get in the way. Like if I see so many women who are full, like they are focused on their careers and they're climbing the corporate ladder, and they have to take that break out to, you know, have a baby or thing, and if they don't, then it's too late, and etc. So it is a bit unfair for women. We do have to fight harder, we have to plan better, but you know, that doesn't mean that it should stop us from you know, hoping that everything will line up for us and it will work out.
I think hope is the key message here. Maybe moving away from this and going back to content creation.
Yeah.
So you probably wouldn't remember, but I do remember you back in UCL days. Then you were featured in some sort of magazine.
Oh yeah, Times.
Maybe that was like your love of fashion, and I
It was
remember
random. I was just walking around the quad, and this
you were in a
photographer
park somewhere.
No,
Was it?
in front of the UCL quad.
Oh, was it?
And this photographer came and said, "Oh, we're from the Times magazine. We want to take a picture of your outfit,
Right.
and just, you know, talk about your style. We'll publish it in the newspaper." I'm like, "Oh, yes,
Why not?
Sure."
So I remember that. I remember you may have posted about it, but I particularly remember that part. So you clearly love fashion for a very long time, and now you have your own line.
Yeah.
So when did that come about? Tell us a little bit about that.
So that was right before the pandemic, actually. So this guy I knew from Bangladesh. We went to classes together. He reached out. He said he had a business idea and he wanted to talk to me about it. Basically, the concept of my line, which is BSID Loves, is that it was the first of its kind in Bangladesh, and we wanted to use dead stock fabric to make our clothes.
Okay.
Dead stock fabric is basically all the leftover fabric that the garments industries would otherwise discard, or so they may have ordered too much of it, or the designs didn't get approved. So it's basically wasted.
That industry is quite big in Bangladesh.
It's huge. So it's basically wasted fabric that would go to the landfills or go get destroyed, because a lot of these businesses also do not want them out, so they kind of like either destroy it or they don't really let someone else use it. But I think this other guy, he had these connections, and they wanted to do like a line based on dead stock fabric, giving them a second life, giving them another kind of like way to, you know, be in people's wardrobes.
Right.
So that was basically the whole concept. And we also wanted to ensure, I don't know if it's the same in your country, but in Bangladesh, people always go to like the tailors. They always like design and customize their outfits.
I think it is still part of certain people practices, but I remember my childhood days when, you know, my mum would get like really nice, you know, textile of fabric, and then would go to the tailors. Yeah,
it's
died down a bit.
Sadly.
Okay. But
So in Bangladesh, it's still very common, and we wanted to get the concept of like here, there, which is like, oh, there's going to be set sizes, there's going to be online shopping. People don't understand online shopping. Like when we started, it was really difficult for us to get people to buy stuff online. And then we provided, you know, free returns, free exchanges, but people still felt unsure of ordering something that they haven't physically touched. So we wanted to get that kind of ASOS feel in Bangladesh, where people could order online, and they were all like sizes. They were not customized to your measurements, but they were set sizes. And we so basically that's my line. And I personally wanted to focus on jumpsuits, because I love jumpsuits. I think they are the best, because if you're like, oh, feeling lazy, what do I wear? That one piece of clothing.
And so elegant
And you
as well.
feel elegant, you look elegant, it's comfortable. I mean, the only part is you can't go to the toilet without completely
You got
stripping
to
down.
unzip everything. Boys do
But-
not know that struggle.
Yeah. So I love jumpsuits, and they weren't that common in Bangladesh when I started back in 2019. That was another kind of barrier I had to overcome. There was a lot of, please sell me the top separately. Please
Oh,
sell me
really?
the
Okay.
pants. And I'm like, I can't, they're joined. It's like, but how do I wear it then? And I had to do videos of demonstrating how you can wear it. So a couple of things that are that's strong about my brand is, yes, they're jumpsuits. They all have pockets. Even if I design a dress or a skirt, like, they will have pockets. I feel like women should need pockets.
Yeah.
To at least
good.
keep their phones and cards and things. So they all have pockets, and yeah, they're all made with dead stock fabrics. So these are all fabrics we're giving new life to. The biggest part is we wanted to have a charity element to our line as well. And so all the businesses under that brand that is doing the production is they picked one of the UN sustainability goals, development goals, and I picked gender inequality. So I wanted to tackle that in Bangladesh, and so I dedicated 10% of my sales to fixing gender
That's so great to
inequality in Bangladesh. And only this time, when I was back in Bangladesh, I finally found a charity that I wanted to support. They're called Shati, and they do reusable menstrual pads for underprivileged children
That's so great.
and women. And I thought, what better way to fight gender inequality than to tackle period poverty? Because it's one of the main things that girls in underprivileged schools struggle with.
Yeah.
They drop out of school. They don't go on those days, and it's one of those things that's so taboo. People don't talk about it. People are not open about it. So thanks to BC Loves, we were able to install 5 pad banks in 5 underprivileged schools across the
that's so
country.
great.
And these pad
So
banks,
you fund, so with the sales from from
yeah.
DC Love, so you fund the actual
Yeah,
pad banks.
yeah.
Oh, that's so great.
Yeah, so
I
the-
hope it gives this is like an inspiration for other businesses.
yeah, it was amazing,
Possibly do
honestly.
some.
Like these pad banks, they're stocked with pads, and they're reusable pads. You'll be shocked. Like, literally, you could spend £2 and that would give a girl pads for 6 months. Like,
Oh,
that's
wow,
how
it's
cheap
that
it is.
cheap.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so I actually got to go and do an opening in one of the schools. They
Oh,
had a
that's so
whole
great.
ribbon. I had to cut it,
Yeah.
and all the kids were like, "Thank you, ma'am," and it was the cutest
Oh,
thing
yeah.
ever.
And I think now that you have a baby girl,
Exactly.
I think for you that must even be
Yeah.
of more value. Because,
Honestly, it just made the whole thing like from up for the last 3 years. It's been, oh yeah, we're saving for charity. We're keeping this money aside for charity, and it didn't. Now I see like a path for it. Like, yes, I'm more excited to do sales. I'm more excited to save for charity,
Yeah.
and I'm excited to keep doing this because that was like one of the best experiences in my whole like kind of business journey.
Oh, I
would
love
say.
that for you. And it sounds like other than the entrepreneurship spirit that you've got, I love the charity element.
Yeah.
And it's so important
Yeah.
for businesses. Talk about new generations coming up with ideas, but I think that's should be at the core of it as well. You market on social media. How's social media going for you? Because you have a great following from what I can tell. Like, everyone's in love. Less you now. I feel like small baby Zoya. She's like a little
I know.
fashionista on her own. Does social media come with hatred for you, or does it come with any negative comments that get to you?
I would say in the beginning, it was there was a lot more random comments, hate messages, and I think over the years I've curated my audience that they know what they're gonna get when they follow me. So just like with any hate, my policy is always delete, block, forget.
You actually do.
Yeah, like, I don't dwell on it. I think the more you dwell on it, the more it that person has gone out of their way to say something mean. Why are you gonna let that affect your day? And the more I think about it, the more I engage in that conversation, it's just gonna affect me. It's not gonna do anything for them. Can I change their mind? No. Do I need to? No. Like, I know who I am. My friends know who I am. My family knows who I am. It doesn't matter what this random person thinks.
But were you always like this?
I think over the years I've gotten more and more like this. When I was younger, yes, it bothered me what people thought. Yes, it bothered me when I was in school. I did care about my reputation, what people were talking about me. But I think having a strong home setting, having a strong support system is what got me away from that, because I know that, you know, my husband doesn't think that, my parents don't think that, my friends don't think that, and I think that's the main thing, like me having that support around me, knowing that yes, the people who know me don't think that. And the fact that I've just, you know, I've followed that policy of just don't engage, delete, block, forget. Over the years, I think they've just got tired. Like they don't get the reaction. I don't call them out on stories. I don't like go on a rant. They literally, they do something and it doesn't have any outcome. But there are times when they've said something like not nasty, like if it's super nasty, that's my policy. But if it's like kind of mean, kind of backhanded, I do reply.
You do?
I do reply and say that
with some sarcasm, or
yeah, I'm kind of like, I'm sorry you feel, or I'm like, oh well, you know, thanks for taking time out of your day to tell me that, like stuff like that. And you would be surprised. 90% of the time they come back and say, I'm really sorry, I was having a really bad day. I don't know why I took it out on you.
Interesting.
Or I'm really sorry, I just said that. I shouldn't have talked to you like that. So it's always been like kill them with kindness for me, because that's worked.
Yeah.
It's real. It happens. I'll give you an example. A few days ago, I think this girl messaged me saying, you suggested this like you wore something from this business, so I bought something from this business, and look at this dress, it's horrible, why are you like, she was really mean about it. And I said, oh, I'm like, I was genuinely sad about it.
Yeah.
I said, oh, I'm really sorry, because my experience with them was good, and the outfit I got was really beautiful. I'm sorry that it didn't work out for you. I mean, do you want me to talk to them, do something about it? And she came back and said, you know what, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have taken it out on you, it's not your fault. And I'm like, well, that could have easily been a situation where I got mad at her or blocked her, but I didn't. I spoke to her and cleared it out, and that has helped. So yeah, I mean, those two angles, I think, either you completely, if they're a troll, they just want to get under your skin, you completely ignore them, or if there's somebody who just want some kindness and you give it to them, and that helps.
That does. I think for me, I haven't had hate messages, but I think maybe now I'm opening myself to with the podcast, because I think with podcasting it's like you're having your opinions out there, right? With content creation, you know, it's like a picture. Everyone comments, so you look great.
But
now
you're
with
having
this, I'm having opinions out there, and sometimes it's just a clip from the actual recording, and someone could say something different, like having a view, but if the view doesn't align, and I'm like, that's fine, but I'm trying to work on, don't let it get to you. It's just your views out there. Eventually that what makes society, just like that's what makes the market. Like I work in banking with buying and selling, I'm sure like that's what makes society. Like you will have people with good and
it's good though, if people are having not so positive comments or views, you're inciting conversation, and that's always a good thing. Like if you're always getting positive, you're probably not talking about everything that's important.
True.
So I mean, I think that's a very good thing if you're getting both sides, and as long as it's not nasty and just like unrelated.
Great perspective. You do show your baby online, and people love her. I'm one of the fans. How's that going for you in terms of journey, like having a baby online, which is part of your mother life, your mom's life? Do you feel you're somewhat tougher, like in line with, you know, the previous question about dealing with the hate comments, like touch wood, you don't have that many. Do you feel like you're tougher now that you're a mom? If someone were to say something, does that get to you?
Honestly,
does mom shaming, is that a question that comes up at all?
Okay. Yeah, no, honestly, I would say since having Zoya, like literally the minute she came out, I felt like I would fight the world for her. Like it's just, I don't know, it's probably hormones. Like it literally gives you this like super goddess feeling, like, yes, I can take on anything for her. And it's I don't get that much mom shaming, but I do get some. Like for example, I'll give you an example. When for the first time Ashik and I went to Goa for my friend's wedding on January.
That was amazing.
That was the first time we took a trip without Zoya. We left her with the grandparents. She was with like Ashik's mom, my mom, like everyone. She was well looked after. And we were in Goa for 2 days, so it wasn't even long. And I did get a message that said, "Oh, look at you guys, like great parents, partying it up, leaving your kids somewhere
wow.
else." Yeah. So and
But it was not even like, it's not even coming from a place of protection. Like, where's
No,
baby Zoya?
no,
Is she
no.
with you guys? But that's
Yeah.
mean.
But then for every comment like that, I got at least 10 other comments that said, "Watching you guys has given me renewed like energy to make it happen for me and my husband. Like we need to go on a trip. Like we need to take some time out to enjoy our marriage. 'Cause it's hard when you
Yeah.
have a baby." And so many women have messaged saying like, you know, this has been encouragement. I'm gonna do something for myself.
Oh, that's nice.
So it's like that balance. Like I can choose to just focus on that, or I can choose to focus on that. It's just a choice. But yeah, Zoya gets a lot of love. Zoya gets a lot of like love from all my followers, and that's amazing. She does. There are messages. I don't know if you have the concept of like evil eye in your culture.
We do.
Yeah.
Big.
Yeah, for us it's huge.
For me, it's like, and this is probably just cultural, but like touchwood and like the evil eye.
Yeah.
Even when I post something, I'm like, evil eye there.
No, it happens to Ashik and me. Like, I believe it because it's like whenever I would post a really sweet post about me and Ashik, we would have an argument that day. And I'm like, and then literally now we come back and we say, let's pause because you know what, that post, that's why we're arguing. Let's pause.
Oh, do you?
We do that.
Okay.
We do that, and
For me, it's like as simple as
it's superstition,
if I'm eating, like I'll eat and then I'll post a picture way later. I'm like, I don't know what it is.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
my mum, maybe it's my mum. We've been brought up that way, but like talking about money, talking about even education. Now I talk more about my job, but like even talking about, you know, buying a place, I try not to until like, you know, it's all done.
Yeah.
Exactly. I'm with you.
Yeah, no, it's hard, and especially you can imagine how hard it is for me because it's like it's all out there.
Exactly.
and you know, it's happened that, you know, I've put really cute photos of Zoya out and she's like been ill the next day, and I've had messages going like, you shouldn't show her, like you're doing this to her, like she's ill because you show her. And then I've had messages going like, oh, she's so cute, I can't help but give her like evil eye, like I've had
No
messages
way.
like that. Oh, just it's a thing that I currently struggle with, like how much I want to show her or how much I want to share. But also, like, I've also seen the other side of it. So whenever she falls ill, I post about it, that she's ill, and I ask for people's wishes and prayers, and she does get better.
Because you're a very spiritual person.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. No, I hear you. I think for me, you know, I don't have kids. I want to be a mom, and I touch wood, it will happen. But I know I have friends who are in the field of content creation, and I think some of them show their babies. I think at this stage, and I don't know how I'm going to feel, and by all means, this is not like me judging others, but I know at this stage, I'm not sure I'm going to show my baby, but that's how I feel right now.
Honestly, I don't know how I'm going to feel next month. Like, what if I wake up one day and I think, no, this is it? What if Zoya grows up and she's like,
Mom, I don't want it.
I'm going to respect that. So it's one of those things I'm just kind of going with it and saying, because it's hard, because this is my life, my blog is about my life, my lifestyle and everything about me, and Zoya is 90% of it now. For me to exclude her would mean me not having anything to post, especially in the beginning few months of her life. That is all I did. I was a mom 24/7. So and I still am, but now I'm starting to, you know, do the other things I used to do back then, get some time off to myself. But if I wasn't going to show her, that means I would disappear completely, because she was me and I was her.
Agree.
Yeah.
And I think that's your take, and I think you're like backing it 100%. This is who I am. She's part of me. Let's go with this. Is there a thing that you think, you know, for me, like growing up, for instance, my parents weren't too keen on us wearing, simple example, but like nail varnish before the age of 15, or like getting our eyebrows done. That was the thing. I think I turned 17, and growing up, I had like my mustache.
Just
my
walking
dad was
around
like,
with bushy brows and
like,
bushy
my
upper
dad was
lips.
like, no. I think parents to some extent want the kids to stay pure, like no tattoos, no piercing,
Stay young and
exactly, like no makeup until whatever age. Even my phone, I think I got my first phone at the age of 17, and that's also because I changed school. So I went to a school that was like an hour away from home, so I think part of that, you know, came from there. It was like, if you do well in your O-levels, we'll give you a phone. Is there any particular thing that you think, you know, growing up, you didn't understand your parents saying no to you, but now that you have your baby, it's hard anyway, I think, with this generation. But is there any particular thing that you think, hang on, I don't think I'm going to give into that until like she turns that age? Do you think parenting as such has changed?
My parents, you'd be surprised, my parents were the same. Like, they were super strict.
Right.
Not in the kind of like the beauty side of it, because she took me to my first salon, got me like my leg waxed.
Boys, maybe?
And boys, yes.
Yeah,
Oh my goodness.
No talk of boys.
Oh my goodness, yes, boys. Yeah, that was like the biggest thing. And I was a naughty child. Like, Zoya is not naughty. I was naughty. I was really naughty. And my mom changed my school so many times because she just did. She was like on it, and I'm glad she was, because it's made me who I am today. And I didn't have a cell phone either. I think when I was like 17 or 18, she got me this big ass, like this. It was a national phone. It was a landline phone without a wire.
Okay.
So that I treated that like my cell phone. I carried around the house like this big.
At the age of 17.
Yeah. I wasn't allowed a mobile. It had an antenna. It was like, and that was my mobile. Like, that was all I was allowed.
And that was what, like 13 years ago. So it's not even yet.
I got my cell phone, I think, as well after my O-levels or during or something like that. And yeah, I mean, I do say I'm gonna be a lot more lenient with Zoya. I'm a lot between Ashik and myself. I'm like the more casual parent. Like, I see her falling and I'm like, she'll figure it out. And my husband's like, oh my god, like he's more panicked. He's like, she's not gonna date, she's not gonna do this, do that. But I'm like, no, like I want to let her, and I'm sure you feel that way as well, because you grew up in a strict household, so you want to be the lenient mom.
I want to be the favorite parent.
Yeah.
That's all I care about.
But who knows? If she grows up and she turns out to be this monster that I was, I probably will have to put her under lock and key like my mom did.
Yeah, I met a friend, I went to Luxembourg like a month ago. I have a friend who was working at JB, and she's now had her second baby. Don't know if she's ever going to listen to this podcast, but then she said to me, Gemma, like, when I was watching other people with their kids, there were so many things I was saying, I don't want my kid to do this, I will be a strict parent. Like, I was judging other people, like, in restaurants, the kid may be screaming, and she's like, oh, Gemma, like, one thing I can tell you, don't judge other parents, because once you are one, it's hard.
Yeah, we're like, oh my god, like, that kid is always watching something, or like, we will never give her like cartoons
screen
on our
time.
phones, but now we're like, food's here, screen. Like, you can't help it unless you're in the position, you're your parent, you're never gonna know what you're gonna do, because it's hard. Like, now I have a newfound respect for parents when I see them out in a restaurant or when I see them on the plane. It is so hard, and journeys are hard. Add kids to the mix, it is a freaking like marathon. Like, it's so hard, and I have respect for parents who do that. Before, you would just look at the inconvenience of it. Oh, the baby's crying, oh, like they're loud, but now you know what goes on behind the scenes.
I'm sure parents listening to you must find this like so refreshing. Someone finally said it.
I know,
because I think right now when I go to Mauritius, I'm on that long flight. When I hear that baby crying, I'm like, oh no,
15-hour flight for me as well in Bangladesh. I mean, how do you entertain her? Like, Ashik and I were making a plan before our flight back. Like, okay, so we have 13 to 14 hours. So 1 hour, we're going to give her screen, and then snacks for the other hour, and then toys for the next. And we're like, and she's like, what about the 12 extra hours? And I'm like, I don't know. We've used everything up. What now?
Yeah, and it's a plane.
Yeah, there's nowhere to go. It's nowhere to go. Yeah.
Bushra, we're getting to the end of the podcast. I know you've come from a long way today.
Hour and a half.
Which I completely appreciate. So, customary question on this podcast, given the title, is there one particular thing that you think you've figured out so far in life, or you get to pick? Is there one thing that you've left to figure out?
What I figured out, or what I'm left to figure out. That's such a deep question.
I feel like this is like free therapy. Every time I ask someone that question,
everyone goes into their own zone.
There's always a pause, and then
I think the more life is going, like me becoming a mom, going through the motions, I'm realizing like the cycle of life, like you said, I'm realizing why my parents did certain things, or why they said certain things, and now that I've become a mom, I see it coming into my life, and what a big role like family plays, what a big role your childhood plays in who you become as a person. Like I owe everything that I am today to my parents and my upbringing, and now that I'm part of someone else's childhood, I can see that playing into my daily life. And I think I'm just kind of still trying to figure out how to go navigate all of that, like knowing that I cannot plan it all out, and knowing that it's not going to always go the way that I've planned it, and then just rolling with the punches, going with the emotions. And yeah, I think that's what I'm still just trying to figure out, how to effectively make the most of what is thrown at me and then going about life.
Do you think you ever would go back to Bangladesh one day, or if this is life? Well, London is home now.
I mean, in the 10 years...
I asked the question because, for me, like, being from Mauritius, I think that's the one thing I can...
What do you feel? Would you...
Good question. I think I'm getting to that point where I'm like, I wouldn't mind going back.
Yeah.
There are things I need to work on. You know, what do I want to do when I get there? But there are things that are different projects, like, I'm working on the side.
Yeah.
But increasingly, I'm having the conversation with my parents. That's the one thing that resonated with me when you just mentioned, you know, coming back full circle. Maybe. I mean, don't be surprised if I leave, like, in a couple of years.
Oh my God.
But, yeah, it's not something that I've ruled out at this stage.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where you realize, okay, my parents are growing old, and I want to be with them. I want to spend time with family and be around people who are my family. No, I feel that. In terms of me, I would say in the last 10 years, I've gone back a lot, and I enjoy being there, but I love having my life here, which is very different to like my life there. But since having Zoya, and since watching her interact with my parents, Ashik's mom, and also like having my village back home. Like when I go there, I'm back to being like
Camping,
teenage Bushra. I put my feet up. I'm like, oh, whose kid is that crying? Oh, mine. Oh, so yeah, like I think since becoming a mom, it's become more like, yes, I want to move back, because it's just, life is just easier and better back then when you have your village around you. But yeah, I don't think it's gonna happen for us because we're quite settled here. It's wishful thinking, but yeah, it's best of both worlds. When we go visit and we come back, we get to enjoy both.
I think that's the best way. Like I think traveling has made it easier, right? You can go whenever you want, and you can stay here as well. And you have a bit of both worlds, and I'm sure you loving Bangladesh. I'm sure she'll have a part of Bangladesh.
Yeah, exactly.
But Bushra, I love talking to you. Thank you so much for coming down
today. Thank you for having me. It's been really fun. I love that we're
matching.
mirroring.
But I hope you've enjoyed this chat as much as I did.
Loved it. Thank you, Jenna.